predicting every NFL team's final record based on the regular season schedule. NFC South, man. Woof, woof, woof. Oh boy, woof, woof. This is going to be a tough division. I mean tough by tough to watch. We'll start with the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC South. Carolina week 1, beat them, I guess. Green Bay week 2, they lose. Detroit week 3, they lose. Jacksonville week 4, they lose. They beat Houston. They lose to Washington. No. They lose to Houston. So they lose to Green Bay, Detroit, Jacksonville, Houston. They beat Washington. They lose to Tampa Bay. They lose to Tennessee. They lose Minnesota. They beat Arizona. They lose to New Orleans. They lose to the Jets. They lose to Tampa Bay again. They beat Carolina in week 15. They lose to Indy. They lose at Chicago. They lose to New Orleans. That puts them at 12 losses. That's 5-12 on the year for the Atlanta Falcons, with their wins coming against Carolina in week 1, Washington, Arizona, Carolina again. Oh no, that's 4, right? Let's do this one again. Let's go through the Falcons again, because I think I switched a couple halfway through and that's not going to work. NFC South predictions 2023, starting with the Atlanta Falcons. In week 1, they beat Carolina at home. Then they lose to Green Bay. Then they lose to Detroit. Then they lose to Jacksonville. They beat Houston. They beat Washington. They're 3-3 through the first 6. That's right. They lose to Tampa Bay. They lose to Tennessee. They lose to Minnesota. Beat Arizona. They take a bye. They lose to New Orleans. They lose to New York. They lose to Tampa Bay. They beat Carolina again. They lose to Indianapolis. They lose at Chicago. And they lose to New Orleans. 5-12. 5-12 for the Atlanta Falcons this year. It's going to be a rough one for the Falcons. It's okay. It is what it is. Up next in the NFC South, it's going to be a tough year for the Panthers, man. Holy cow, is it going to be a tough year. Carolina Panthers 2023 schedule. Atlanta week 1 loss. New Orleans week 2 loss. Seattle week 3 loss. Minnesota week 4 loss. Detroit week 5 loss. Miami week 6 loss. They beat Houston in week 8. Indianapolis in week 9 loss. Chicago at Chicago week 10 loss. Cowboys week 11 loss. Tennessee week 12 loss. Tampa Bay loss. New Orleans week 14 loss. Atlanta week 15 loss. Green Bay week 16 loss. Jacksonville week 17 loss. Tampa Bay week 18, they beat them. Give me 2-15. 2-15 for the Carolina Panthers. It's going to be a rough year, and that's okay. 2-15. We had 5-12 for the Falcons, right? New Orleans Saints 2023 schedule. Derek Carr back in town, or in town, I should say. Here we go. Let's go, Saints. Let's go. Week 1, Tennessee, loss. Beat Carolina at Green Bay, loss. They beat Tampa Bay at home. At New England, loss. They beat Houston. Jacksonville, loss. At Indianapolis, win. Chicago, win. At Minnesota, loss. Atlanta at Atlanta, win. Detroit, loss. Carolina, win. New York Giants, loss. At Los Angeles, loss. At Tampa Bay, loss. Atlanta, finish off the season, win, I guess. 7-10 for the New Orleans Saints. That's about as much as I can expect out of those guys. It's going to be a tough year, but I think it'll be fine. Whatever, at 10, Derek Carr is also a guy, quarterback, that just like his team suffers the most devastating losses, man. Holy cow. Last but not least, NFC South final team, Tampa Bay Bucks. Let's go. 2023 Tampa Bay Buccaneers schedule. Minnesota. At Minnesota week 1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is for sure a loss. Chicago week 2 win. Philadelphia week 3 loss. At New Orleans, loss. Detroit, loss. Atlanta, win. At Buffalo, loss. Houston, win. Tennessee, loss. San Francisco, loss. At Indianapolis, win. Carolina, win. At Atlanta, loss. At Green Bay, loss. Jacksonville, loss. New Orleans at home, win. At Carolina, win. Loss. I think I got to polish that one up a little bit, but ultimately, we'll go through it again. Let's do it again to clarify all the losses. So they're going to lose to Minnesota, Philadelphia, Detroit, Buffalo, Tennessee, San Francisco, Green Bay, Jacksonville. They lose to New Orleans once, and they probably lose to Carolina once. I think 7-10 is pretty respectable. all things considered, in Tampa Bay. They were below 500 last year with Tom Brady, and now they have Baker Mayfield. So there's a legitimate chance as we go through those divisions that there's a 7-10 division winner in the NFC South. I think it's a bad conference, or a bad division specifically. I had the Falcons at 5-12. I had the Panthers at 2-15. New Orleans and Tampa Bay at 7-10 each. Woof.